I'm Mark.
And I'm Josh.
And this is Alter Ego Comics TV, episode number 199. This week at Alter Ego Comics, huge stacks of comics. Lots of cool stuff out. We'll get to many of these in a minute here, but it's a big week. DC's Convergence is in full swing. We've got the first week of Convergence titles in addition to the first issue of the Convergence miniseries. But before
the number one issue of the Convergence miniseries.
Yes, I should say the number one, because number 0 came out last week when we didn't do a video. I've been crazy busy here, which is a good thing, so we apologize for not having a video last week, but trying to find the time is proving to be difficult. But we made the time because you are worth it. I laugh. You are, really. My pick of the week this week is Descender number 2 by Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen, published by Image Comics. We talked about issue number 1 when it came out. It was, I don't want to say a surprise hit, but across the country it sold out. People responded very favorably to it. We enjoyed it. And it's very much a, a futuristic tale involving robotics and aliens and the humans traveling out into space and mining colonies and all the things that you've basically seen in every science fiction movie, like Outland and AI and Bicentennial Man and all kinds of stuff. It is just so good. For me, though, this collaboration between Lemire and Nguyen is top-notch. Jeff Lemire, for me, is a very solid writer, but he also draws a lot of the stuff that he does, and I don't like his artwork. I'm sorry, Jeff Lemire. I don't. So I think this was a great move to get another artist to come in, and Dustin Nguyen is just doing, again, in my opinion, the best work of his career. He was on Detective Comics for a very long time. He did Little Gotham, and we've got flashback scenes in this comic that look considerably different than the present day. It's just really, it's a beautiful book, and I don't say that very often. But this also tugged at the heartstrings for me. This was the most emotion-filled book that I read this week. And there's a lot of emotion in the books this week. So that's saying a lot. So, Descender. If you like sci-fi, if you like robots, if you like robots that think they're human, if you like Data, if you like those sorts of things, you have to check out Descender, really. It's super cool. And that's all I'll say about that. I can keep talking. It's late in the day. You know what happens late in the day. I just blah, blah, blah.
My pick of the week this week is KaijuMax number 1.
Blah, blah, blah. Sorry.
By Xander Cannon. I don't know if that's your real name or not, but I salute you, sir. And he is apparently doing art and music and lyrics and words. And this is a very cool book. Basically, the concept is you've got a prison for giant monsters. So, when humanity finally defeats Godzilla, or a generic character that's not trademarked that looks like Godzilla, they ship him off to this island and try to keep them imprisoned. And it's brilliant. It's sort of like, I don't know, Shawshank meets Godzilla. You've got the, life and being institutionalized, and it's also really funny. And my favorite thing about KaijuMax is that it doesn't talk down to you. It makes a lot of references, like, for example, in here, in prison, you have your gangs and whatnot. And one of the gangs in here is called the Crypts. The Crypts with a Y, because it's short for cryptids. But they never explain that to you. So you've got this gang of, like, giant Bigfoots and things like that, going up against, gangs of giant robots, and you've got the Japanese-style kaiju, and it's just cool. It makes a lot of references to pop culture stuff, and it doesn't care if you get them or not. It just throws it out there, and I really like that. I don't like it when the story is slowed down to explain things to people who don't necessarily know what's going on.
If you read into that, Josh doesn't like stupid people. That's
not what he said.
He may be calling you stupid. I don't know. Sometimes
no, and
stupid.
I am way down on the scale of kaiju people. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the genre.
You're not a kaiju person?
I'm not a kaiju person. I'm normal-sized.
What about this gang of big feets you're talking about?
There's only one, and they don't actually call him a Bigfoot. But it's very cool. It's just fun. And it's giant monsters in prison. I don't know what more you want from me.
It's like Orange is the New Black, but with giant monsters.
But with Godzilla, or Gojira.
And less shanking.
Actually, there's an attempted shanking in the book, so.
Okay.
They do not make toilet sangria, because I don't think giant monsters use toilets, but I don't know. And this is also kind of a feeling book, because one of the main monster that we follow is concerned about his children on the outside and how they're going to survive And the humans are still trying to hunt his children down because even though they're children, they're still giant monsters to them.
Big feats.
Yes, not Bigfoots.
Okay, so back to Convergence. As I mentioned, DC is in full Convergence mode right now. Last week we just had the 0 issue. This week we get issue number 1 of the 9-issue miniseries and the first round of miniseries, 2-issue miniseries that will be published in April and May. So, let me see if I can do this, and you may need to help me out here. Let's talk about Convergence, because we had a conversation with a customer in the shop today who wasn't entirely clear about what Convergence was. Convergence is basically all of the multiverses, all of the DCUs that we don't get to see anymore have been kind of bottled up in bottled cities by Brainiac. And now there's a new villain who's a disciple of Brainiac or a minion of Brainiac, maybe a living planet, I'm not sure, his name is Telos, and he is lifting the domes on all of these worlds and having a contest of champions, trademark Marvel Comics, between all of the different heroes of these worlds. So
it's like March Madness, but only one. The prize for winning is your city gets to survive, and everyone else dies.
Right. So the question that we needed to answer for this customer was: is DC doing Convergence and their regular output of products this month? And the answer is no. DC is not publishing any of their regular comics this month. The publishing line is entirely Convergence, with 3 exceptions. We will get a regular issue of Batman, a regular issue of Justice League, and a regular issue of Superman because of delays. So issue number 40 of those 3 books will come out during this 2-month period of Convergence. But other than that, every book you see on the stands from DC Comics will be a Convergence 2-issue miniseries. So, if you're still with me, we're getting stories that involve characters that we haven't seen in at least 4 to 5 years. It's at least 4 years since the launch of the New 52.
And some of them in much longer.
Well, as we go back, the first week is the most recent group of characters, and as we get through the end of this, by the last week of April, we're dealing with pre-crisis characters. Mm-hmm. So we're going back, pre-1986.
Future apocalyptic Jonah Hex is coming at you.
Yeah. Mm. So, I think it's fair to say that we were skeptical but optimistic about Convergence, because I can only speak for myself. I looked at this event as something fun, a chance to get short 2-issue miniseries involving characters that the way I remember them and the way that many of you remember them as well. And that's what the books felt like to me. They felt like comfort food this week. It was characters that I was familiar with, behaving as I remember them in situations that I remember, whereas the New 52 is taking things off in different directions.
And in a lot of cases, they're written by the people who you remember.
Yes, and that's the beauty of it. DC went and recruited writers and artists who worked on these characters. So there are about 10, I think it's 9 or 10, different Convergence miniseries out this week. The 3 that stood out for me, and honestly I'm still working my way through reading them, are The Question by Greg Rucka and Cully Hamner, which involves the Renee Montoya Question. Two-Face is in there. Montoya and Two-Face have had a long relationship pre-New 52. And we've got Huntress in there, and who's the bad guy? I don't remember.
Two-Face, kind of?
No, Two-Face, yeah. Batwoman's in here, and all kinds of cool stuff. Anyway, the next up for me would be Nightwing Oracle, #1. This is written by Gail Simone, who, of course, wrote Oracle as part of the Birds of Prey for many years. So we have a wheelchair-bound Barbara Gordon romantically involved with Dick Grayson, a.k.a. Nightwing, taking on the Flashpoint Hawkman and Hawkgirl, who are just ruthless. And I loved this. It was great. It's great to see Nightwing and Oracle together. So that was awesome. And then finally, Convergence Superman #1. This is written by Dan Jurgens, who killed Superman in the Death of Superman storyline from the early 1990s, with artwork by one of my favorite artists, Lee Weeks. So there was no way I was not going to pick this up. This is I haven't figured out exactly when this happens, and it doesn't really matter, but you've got a depowered Superman at the beginning of the story who...
Well, everyone is depowered. The domes that has captured the cities, in every book where there's somebody with superpowers, their powers are shut off. So like in the Titans book, Coriander, Starfire, and Wonder Girl, Donna Troy, don't have powers until the dome comes down. You know, Superman is unpowered until the dome comes down. So,
goes up.
Well, no, it comes down.
Comes down.
It comes down when the fight starts. At the start of the issue, when...
I thought all the domes were up, and that's how they were...
No, the domes were up. No, they've been trapped in these cities. And the domes, they've been domed.
I'm looking at a dome coming
down. You're thinking like Thunderdome.
No, to me, a dome comes down. You're saying a dome comes down, like there are no walls anymore.
Right, the dome goes away.
Right.
Right.
To me, that's the dome coming up. The dome goes down. We have communication issues here. So there are no more domes.
But so nobody had superpowers at the start of the stories. All the people are depowered. That's part of the reason.
Okay, so yes, and that makes sense because it's been a year. Superman is still married to Lois Lane, and Lois has become pregnant because Superman doesn't have powers anymore.
So and they couldn't punch its way out of the uterus.
If you've seen Mallrats, you know what we're talking. You know what happens next. So yes, this is the Superman I want to see. The Superman still married to Lois Lane, who's a veteran at what he does, and they've been living in Gotham City. Apparently, they were in Gotham when the dome came down.
Is there? Yes.
But for me, the artwork by Lee Weeks is worth the price of admission on that one. So, again, 2-issue miniseries. Thoroughly enjoyed the Convergence books this week. Exceeded my expectations. So, you should definitely check them out. Don't be put off by what DC's doing. It's good stuff.
All right. Next up, I have a twofer for you. Copperhead and Birthright, two of the books we've been kind of raving about for the last several months, have their new issues out. And these new issues are awesome for a couple reasons. First, just because they're awesome, great books. But also because they're the first book in the continuing storyline. So if you picked up the first trade of Copperhead or the first trade of Birthright, you can now pick up the first volume and jump into the single issues and follow it. And I was surprised. I've been enjoying both the series, and I really was surprised how much I enjoyed these first issues. Copperhead is definitely delving more into the character of the new sheriff, and you're getting into the town politics, and it was just really resonant and great. And Birthright is a little bit darker in a way, because Copperhead, there's a lot more mysteries. You don't really know where anybody stands. But in Birthright, from the very beginning, we've known that some characters are not what they seem. And the family dynamic playing out in Birthright was just kind of heartbreaking. I mean, it was good, but it was good knowing that some of the people are not being honest with the people they love, and it was really well put together. These are well-written books, and you can jump in now.
Absolutely. All right, finally for me, we're going to talk about Avengers Millennium. This is a weekly series where the first part came out last week. Issue number 2 is this week. And this is just a fun book, and this is perfect for those of you that are enjoying the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They really have gone out of their way to create this team that features pretty much everybody that's in Avengers Age of Ultron.
And Spider-Man.
And Spider-Man, which he may be in
there. Maybe he's in there.
He may
I don't
be
know.
at the end.
Miles Morales doing his thing.
This book has action, humor, and time travel. That's all you need to know.
What more do you want?
It's a fun Avengers weekly book. I think it's either four issues or 5 issues. But again, this is tailor-made for people that are enjoying the Marvel Cinematic Universe, although longtime fans like us are digging it too. So super cool weekly series. We still have plenty of copies of 1 and 2.
Written by your friend of mine, Mike Costa.
Mike Costa, yes.
Next up for me, apparently I have more than you have in my file.
I'm done.
Okay.
I'll be over
here, you can tell me with those.
You listen to Josh.
Next up for me, we've got Ant-Man. This is issue number 4. I've loved every issue of this book, and sometimes I'm a little reticent to keep talking about the same book over and over again, but literally 3 or 4 times while I was reading this week, I had to stop and laugh, and at one point I realized that this is what Nick Spencer is put on Earth to do. This sort of melding of 3rd and 4th string Marvel heroes and villains into a book that's heroic and emotional, but also just absurd and funny is amazing. Ant-Man and a guy in a giant bear costume.
Grizzly.
Grizzly. It's just, it's the funniest book I read this week, and it was just wonderful palate cleanser between heavy, dark stuff.
It's been consistently good.
Yes. And because we missed out last week, but also because Marvel's is jerks, Darth Vader number 3 was delayed a week in most places, which means we actually got them last week, and Darth Vader number 4 is out this week. So 2 weeks in a row we get Darth Vader. It's still good. It's been good since issue 1, but the big deal is last week's issue, issue number 3, introduces a new character, almost like a sidekick for Darth Vader, a person who he's manipulating as part of his plots, schemes, as part of his mission, and it was just really, really good. Darth Vader is scary and brooding, and absent the prequel crap, you know, he shouldn't be talking a lot. You know, you want to feel bad for the things that happened to him, but at the same time, you don't want him to feel bad about it. So pairing him up with somebody who can talk to him and talk at him is brilliant. It allows the story to be plot forward. It brings in exposition greatly, and this is a genuinely interesting character. This is also one of the only new characters they've injected into the Marvel Universe. Almost everyone else we've seen, except for the pilot in Leia, have been original characters from the movies. So this is it's neat to see what they're actually adding, since these are considered canon now, as I understand it. And yeah, plus you've got an evil C-3PO that's just freaking terrifying.
That is the best part. This book has been consistently good from the beginning. But the coolest part of issue 4, we were introduced to this character in issue 3, is this twisted protocol droid. That is, yeah, I keep hearing C-3PO's voice in my head when I read it.
Same awful thing.
But it's, yeah, this dude is bad. This is a bad droid.
If you remember HK-47 from Knights of the Old Republic, it's a sort of a similar feel to that, which was awesome in that case as well. And last up, we need to reveal what must be revealed.
It was Duke. Duke won. Spoilers.
The end of March Madness ends with Spider-Man triumphant. Spider-Man has dethroned Saga, and it was the greatest book that came out last year. It was very, very close. It was down to a tie. We had to bring in a tiebreaker vote, and that's what happened. But a little bit of side interest. We did allow write-ins online and on the videos and in the store last week. Most of the write-ins we saw were books that had already been knocked out, like Nailbiter and Batman. But there was surprisingly love for Red Sonja and Deadpool, and Green Lantern was actually one of the surprise ones for me. Just because the book's good, but it doesn't get as much press as I'd like. So maybe next year, Green Lantern.
Yeah, and what this tells me, it just confirms what I've been saying for years. Comics are awesome. Comics are better now than they've been in a very long time. Quite possibly the best they've ever been. And I know that's sacrilege to some of you, but you're old and you can't hear me right now anyway because your hearing is going.
Go back and read your
it's time for your medication.
Fantastic Four #1 and tell me it's well written.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe this stuff won't hold up. Maybe we'll look at this 30 years from now, look at these comics 30 years from now and be like, this just doesn't read right. But the comics,
it'll be projected in our minds.
Comics as a whole, as an industry and as a complete package, I think are better now than they've ever been. And there's so much variety, so much cool stuff happening, and we see that by the write-ins and by the fact that Spider-Man bounces back and dethrones Saga as the best book of 2014, according to you, the viewers and customers of Alter Ego Comics. So thank you. Thanks for playing our game. All right, that's it for this week. We went a little long with all the stuff we're talking about. Free Comic Book Day is right around the corner, so put that on your calendar, Saturday, May 2nd. Hopefully we'll see you here at Alter Ego, or if you're not in the area, definitely head out to your local comic shop and support them on Free Comic Book Day. We'll see you next time.